Welcome, welcome, welcome to our second week of Noonday Message. Sorry to be just a tad late this afternoon. Um, I'm having a little trouble with my Zoom, which I will get straightened out today, so we're on time tomorrow. So I really just wanted to welcome you back and to let you know that we're going to be continuing our work with the shadow, and we want to have compassion for the shadow. And that is our theme of week 2. And I know that when we hear the word shadow, as I talked about last week, if you weren't with us, we were talking about the shadow as our uh, subconscious. And by that, I don't just mean in a psychological sense, but our consciousness that is not our everyday consciousness, but is below the surface of our everyday awareness. And therefore, we're not always cognizant of what is going on in our own hearts, minds, and souls, because these are parts of ourselves that we have rejected or have sublimated or have put down so that we kind of escape from them. We dissociate from them because they're parts of ourselves that we do not like or we feel are harmful to us, even if they're not. And in our shadow lurks all of our creativity, our strength, our power. And so being able to access this information is vital and important to us. And we have to recognize that the part of ourselves that is there in the shadow, okay, that we dissociate from, think about a friend you have. And for some reason, you two just are not getting along. And you, rather than confronting that friend and saying, well, here's what I think is the issue, and here's what I think we can do to resolve that issue, you just ghost that person. That's kind of what we do to the parts of ourselves that we put in shadow. We ghost them. And then when you think about that idea of being ghosted, they have no idea, this friend, right, that we're ghosting has no idea why we're no longer associating with them. They may recognize that there was an issue, there was a problem there, but they may not really know what it was. And there was really not a lot of opportunity to fix that situation. And that's kind of what we do to those parts of ourselves that we think are maybe too loud or too fat or too, you know, too chaotic, too whatever, right? And we push those aside. And we don't really explain to those parts of ourselves why we are letting them go, why we're dissociating from them. And so, if we want to begin to reintegrate parts of ourselves that are in the shadow, the very first thing that we need to embrace is compassion for those parts of ourselves in the shadow. They may act in ways that seem to be harmful to us because we don't understand them and they don't understand us. Okay. And that we may feel as if when parts of our shadow do things either to get our attention or to act in ways that are really trying to help us, and it seems like in our everyday life things start going wrong. Did you ever get into a cycle like that where things are just not going right and you have no idea why not? Every time you get started on something, maybe a project, maybe you can't finish it, or uh, maybe something goes wrong with it and then you just give up. Or maybe it seems, why are there so many obstacles in my way? And that can be that shadow self presenting itself because you've already told it that those parts of yourself that were, say, most creative were not appreciated. So when you try to do a creative project, you kind of left high and dry by that part of yourself that you've already said you didn't want. Okay. Or how about when you try to express yourself and you've always been told you're too loud, you're too boisterous, you got too much to say. When you do try to finally express yourself, you've already told that part of yourself that it's too much and you don't need it. So it doesn't show up for you. And so things do not go the way you want them to, and you don't always know why. So the first step, as I said, is to find compassion for these parts of ourselves that we have pushed to the side and that we have said are not valuable to us. And if we want them to understand that they are valuable to us, that they can return, that they can be um, reintegrated, then we have to start with compassion. So let's start just by holding space for these parts of ourselves with one hand, the left hand on our heart, the right hand on our womb. Take a few deep breaths. And this is our affirmation for today. I meet myself with kindness today. And remember that compassion is not passivity. It is a powerful, steady presence. Judgment of ourselves or anything else hardens us. Compassion softens us so that healing can happen. Because healing only happens when we let ourselves go, when we let ourselves be free and open to that healing process. And you can also hold yourself accountable and be kind at the same time. Practicing self compassion does not mean that we, or even compassion for others, does not mean that we allow people to do whatever they wish to for us so that we consider that being kind. It is setting firm boundaries. It is knowing what you desire and what you don't desire and being willing to state that and to be willing to own up to your own part of what is going on in your life. So let's focus today on writing a one sentence self compassion pledge that begins when I notice the effects of my shadow, I will. And then you can write, pause, breathe, speak gently to myself, practice self kindness, or some other specific act you're going to do, to just take that pause so that you can reflect self kindness. How does that sound today? I think that is completely doable for all of us to not judge ourselves when we recognize the effects that the shadow is having in our life and the shadow itself. We will practice kindness of some kind toward that shadow and make that shadow know we do find it valuable, we do find it necessary, and we do want to understand. So let's share a closing blessing. May kindness be the ground you stand on. May kindness be the ground you stand on. May kindness be the ground you stand on. Hold that for yourself. Take a deep breath and release. And thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you again tomorrow at the Noonday Message. If you want to join me on the Zoom so that you can be part of the chat, please do. I'm going to leave that information in the comment section, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Bye bye.